We're continuing our conversation about what it's like to be an American of African descent who is a Jew. I asked earlier, how does the white Jewish community embrace you? Because there are charges by people like the Honorable Louis Farrakhan that the white Jewish community has been just as, I don't want to say racist, we're all one human race, but against certain ethnic groups like blacks as other groups have been. How have you been received?
I haven't had any difficulty, and I've lived...
Do you worship at white synagogue?
Yes, in San Francisco, and in Orlando, and in Tallahassee, and in Savannah, and in Hialeah, Florida, and now in Charleston, and I've never had any difficulty whatsoever.
And you, Rabbi?
There is, and there are people who do have difficulties. You do have Jews that are Ashkenazic that are somewhat indifferent to blacks who profess Judaism. But personally, I am welcomed in every synagogue in the city of Chicago. I've conducted services in several synagogues there and been part of joint services. I work on a board, it's called the it's a Black Jewish Dialogue Group that consists of leaders of various Jewish communities, several Christian ministers, and we actually dialogue on problems that are affecting the Chicago community in particular, and the relationships between blacks and Jews, so that there are problems and there are people that are trying to address the problem.
Before we go to the caller, what about you? Your look is not that different from some Jews who live in Israel now, is it?
In fact, in Israel, people were constantly, I don't speak Hebrew, I do know some necessary prayers, but people were constantly asking me a question, and I couldn't understand what they were talking about, right? And finally, and they walk away with this terribly disappointed look on their faces. So finally I asked my sister-in-law, who is fluent in Hebrew, what are they saying? She listens, she says, they're asking you what time it is. And you're saying lo, lo, which means no, 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 there is no time, right? You know?
So no wonder they were disappointed.
Right. But in any case, I mean, people spoke to me. Everywhere I go, people think I'm something. People, sometimes if they're enveloping or warm people, they think I'm one of whatever they are. Other times they think, if they're hateful people, they think I'm somebody else. I would say I've walked into synagogues and, you know, people have given me stares and things, and people have been less than completely enveloping and warm. On the other hand, some places, I think it depends on, actually not so many, how many African-American Jews they've seen before, but how comfortable they feel about themselves. If they're not comfortable with themselves, then they're going to be questioning, who are you?
But
and I would have to say that the warmest congregation I ever was in Duluth, Minnesota, one of the coldest places in the world, where there are only 600 Jews out of 90,000 people. And so with only 600 Jews, they band together, and not once did I ever get, funny, you don't look Jewish, or are you Ethiopian, or are you from Egypt? You know, people just accepted me as...
It's really interesting, though, that people who know what discrimination is all about discriminate. Let's take a call. Good evening. Thank you for being out there. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, perhaps. I want to thank you for putting this program and many others that you've put on.
Thank you.
I'd like to say shalom aleichem to the rabbi.
Aleichem shalom.
Ma shalom ka.
Kol beseder hayom ve'ata.
Oh, tov me'or, tov me'or. I'm African American.
I'm lost. What did you just say?
Peace. He said, peace be upon you.
I know.
Said, under you be peace. He said, how are you? I said, I'm good. And how are you doing?
And now continue. We have learned.
Yeah, I was born into Judaism about 40, almost 50 years ago. There is quite a few congregations in New York, Brooklyn, and Manhattan, Harlem.
Are you African American?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I have known no other religion. I didn't convert to Judaism. My father and mother were African Americans. My father had turned to Judaism many years before I was born. There are quite a lot of African American Jews in New York that I'm familiar with.
What is your question?
My question is that why does it seem to be so difficult to accept the fact that there are plenty of us around?
Good question, gentlemen. Thank you, caller.
Well,
is it difficult Is it difficult for those of us who are African American, a good Baptist saying, wait a minute, Reuben, you know, Rabbi, is it difficult, Robin? Or is it difficult for the white Jewish community? Or are we making much to do about nothing?
I think we're making much to do about something. The point is that the caller just said there's so many of us around. There are at least, we can caucus about the numbers here, but the absolute minimum, I would say, 50,000 black Jews in America. And I'm not talking about Ethiopians who are very nice people in Ethiopia. I don't know many over here. There are 50,000 from either conversions, myself, whatever way we got the way we are, we are. And that is roughly, are there about 5 million, 6 million Jews in the United States? That would therefore mean we're 1% of the Jewish population. So the only problem is, as an Orthodox black Jewish friend of mine says, the 50,000 are silent.
Okay,
and
but
nobody seems to know
but
we're
at
here.
one time they weren't so silent. A group of blacks decided to migrate to Israel, and they moved to an area called Dimona, and they were not welcomed by the white Jewish community there. They had a difficult time finding housing. They were not as welcomed as the Ethiopian Jews, who the Israelis, they were not welcomed by the Israelis there. So what about that?
Well, first of all, you have a different situation. The Ethiopian Jews, not only were they welcome, the Israeli government actually went to Ethiopia and got them.
And they were black.
Yes, and they were black, and brought them to Israel. The group coming in from Chicago, and not only from Chicago, from other places as well, have come to Israel. They were they were also black, but their particular adherence to Jewish tradition was questioned.
So the Israelis questioned whether or not they were authentic practitioners?
I think that was...
Or valid practitioners?
I think their claims. Firstly, they don't use the term Jew or Jewish. The term that they define themselves as is black Hebrews.
We have to end our conversation. We'll continue. Boy, this is a great lesson. We'll have to invite you back again. Thank you for joining us and teaching us this evening. Until tomorrow, God bless.
ואנחנו נברך יה מעתה ועד עולם